Ready, 3:30? Anybody? 3:59.
15 seconds.
10, 9,
It is. That's exactly what.
7, 6, 5. Anyone else? You got them all in?
There was still a.
Okay, so it's here dinging. Still coming around. I love the photos. When do we get that? Been here for a while. I really like that.
The minimum.
You're still adding people.
Some difference. Is that the whole?
Okay, you want to unmute?
You are
Adding
muted.
them. I'm gonna start.
How are you doing? It's been a while.
Yeah.
All right, shut that down so we can, or minimize it so I can see the screen. Minimize.
I think I would.
All right, unmute. It's just something admit right there.
Yeah. You're unmuted.
Okay, all right. For all of those who know, we still have many folks coming on, but we're gonna start on time. First of all, welcome. We see lots of our key leaders and staff here with us in person. We have many online on Zoom, but want to welcome all of you to our annual. We've been doing this for many years, rollout of our strategic plan for the next year. We also will talk this evening about accomplishments that we that we moved on with actual evidence. In addition, I really want to make sure too, we recognize our core leadership team for all their hard work and effort that they've done, and all of our staff as well. First, just to start with some introductions, I'm going to turn to a few in the audience. This isn't turning. Brett, is this on? Okay, so I'm just gonna roll with it like I normally do. First, I'd like to introduce a few of our board members. Tim Snyder on our board from Geauga County. In addition, I'd like to recognize our board president, Doug Pence, longtime board member for Lake County. Appreciate both of their support and being here this evening. In addition, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our core leadership team as well. So I'd like to start, please, Deb walked in, so Deb, please get a seat. She obviously is on stage right now, everyone knows Deb Burke, part of the core leadership team, so a little waited by. In addition, I'd like to start over here, Kelsey Chafee, Kelsey, part of our leadership team on the special ed side. Jana Gandolfi, Bo Ed on special ed team, core team. Wendy, also a part of our special ed team in early childhood. Let me see in the room, Greg Morris, related service. Greg Slemons, our chief financial officer. In addition, soon to be Melissa's. I want to recognize Melissa for all her work that she works with the Department of Ed workforce. Frank as well for math, in his consulting and leadership. Nancy Santilli, all of her direct superintendent support services to us. Beth Walsh-Morman, I want to recognize as well, and her leadership with literacy. Also recognize Bob Timmons, who's coming to us for workforce, and welcome him aboard. In addition to our extended learning or ESL, English as a second language kids here in the room. We also want to write Bob Scott. Bob here being long-term in terms of 3 years now leadership team. Teresa, also your leadership for state support team. Want to recognize you and Kelly Moran, head of curriculum and instruction for our ESC and leading our team. Also, those that I have not recognized, please raise your hands. I want to recognize our fiscal team in the back, Amy and Bernie for all of their work that they do. Our assistant treasurer is not here this evening, but we want to recognize Diane as well.
Jess is online.
And Jess. Jessica's probably there too, so we appreciate, all the support the fiscal team offers to us, and our administrative assistant support. HR, as our administrative assistant support,
Working.
I don't know exactly, but like more of the assistant to our department. Also Terry, the support that you do for the ESC, thank you so much, Beth, you as well, and all you do for, especially our online learning. Jan, our receptionist and support, first person we see when we walk in, so thank you. And these two here that are hidden, I'm rolling the screen in the mission vision, you got it working now, Britt?
I think so.
I don't know what I'd do without Brittany and Tina every day, so thank you
Okay,
both.
back at the beginning, so.
So as we go forward for mission and vision, we have embedded everything in what we do every day in our mission vision. And I appreciate the staff and all of the key leaders in this room, as well as some online that have been a part of us to really embrace. We want to be a premier ESC, okay? That's the bottom line. Everything we do and what we do every day is presence of our mission and vision. That's what leads us, that's what develops us every day. It pushes and drives all of us who work for students, number one, our schools and our staff. Could not do that without what we have as a vision and what we want to have happen. It tells us our focus, tells us where we want to go, and we want to really make sure that that is always present in any presentations that we do. We've done a great job at marketing and branding the last few years, branding who we are, have this amazing logo, and all of us in our logo shirts, be proud of who we are, be proud of where we work, be grateful for the people that you have and the people that you have next to you every day. Especially our staff and our students, that they work so hard. Couldn't do it every day, but be proud to be a part of this organization. I am, and I'm proud to where we go every year. Every year we try harder, we drive harder, we expand. We really assess too, what are things working, where are things not? Where we need to head, making sure our fiscal department's highly involved in budgets, HR department, in what we're looking at. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our successes and achievements tonight, but I'm also going to talk about sometimes it's okay to let things go and move on in different directions. And that's okay, but that's what we do. Great organization to assess and own the fact that we need to make sure we have our thumb on what is working, what is not, and what do we need to do to be responsive always to our schools and needs and what's going on. And some of what I'll talk about is the state's priorities are part of the ESC. I've led the State Department prior in my career. I've also led OASCA, our state organization. Now I'm going to this next phase of being a part of our national organization on their board. And I think many of us can recognize our treasurer as well as president of OTESCA and the treasurer's organization for the ESC this year. Those are important because those are our arms to our success. We could not be as strong as we are without the State Department and their initiatives and what they want us to do, from computer science grants we have to the state support team and what we do to recognize also our ISTEM arm of the support that we offer to ISTEM and their staff, and how important I think all of those I saw extended family members to our ESC are so important, not just our schools. Again, here's our key leadership team. I want to thank all of them. Maureen Millett also, if Maureen's on, our principal at Gateway. I want to make sure I've recognized everybody. Dan Wilson, who's not here, our director of business support services, and Chrissy. Chrissy's not with us as well, and she leads our preventive service integrated support, student supports. So I've gotten everyone. If I missed somebody, I so apologize, but I just want to make sure I recognize our team. So these are our achievements. I'm not going to read all of them. I'm going to talk to them because I know them so well. And that's something I've always been really proud of, is I pretty much have my thumb on the entire organization and what's going on. I can't do it to the detail to the wonderful leaders in the room, but I'm pretty good about knowing what's going on every day. And that's a lot from all of you that keep me informed, but I want to know, where we are, what's the needs, and when do you need help? I think that's the one thing. We've really tried to focus on professional development, and PD is essential. We invested this year a lot of PD into our school districts, as well as with us. We really want to invest in our staff and all of you that are on Zoom as well in the room. We embraced Rocket PD professional development modules this year. You had our district leaders and our team leaders here lead courses throughout this year. To have discussions, do book studies, all of that to invest in our staff. In addition, Brave Ed, we brought in to talk about accountability. Accountability with our leadership team. That's really important. It's not just about student accountability, it's about accountability for ourselves and what we do every day in education. We have various roles. All of you on today all work in a different realm in education. You're all educators. We all touch kids in some way, but we all work in different ways. And I think that's really important, is that we need to make sure that in those discussions, we relate to everyone, okay? Because we're very much in what we do every day, but we also come together as a team and want to make sure that the ESE is there to support our schools and students. But we really wanted to invest in staff this year. The other area too is emotional poverty. We had 200 plus district or participants, I want to say, from districts all over Northeast Ohio attend our emotional poverty with Dr. Lonnie Rivera. What an impactful PD. Amazing, amazing to see the connections to make of how we engage students. How do we educate them? Even the toughest situations most of us are in, and our students that we have. We educate, and I've said this since my days in Geauga, this first becoming superintendent 9 years ago. We educate the hardest and toughest students every day. And we also train teachers to be able to make them successful in classrooms. And that's huge. Huge to us to remember what we do for students and for our schools that struggle. I mean, we have a lot of struggling teachers and staff, but how do we uplift them? And what do we give them the tools to support them every day? And that's, I see, a big part of the ESC's world of what we should be doing. Especially in our curriculum and special ed department, and leading a majority of a lot of the work we do in our preventive service team. Other big PD, I mean, we put on one of the biggest 4 AI events for artificial intelligence in October. We're having a second annual event here in end of October in 2025. Very exciting. I had districts come up to me on stage and say to me, wow, you know, I remember when you came to Geauga 9 years ago, and the ESC has just, you know, catapulted to what we have been able to offer. And these are districts in Cuyahoga and beyond that we had at 4AI. These are celebrations and achievements, and I want to make sure that we emphasize some of these things that we have done. In addition, we want to expand business development opportunities. This is something we've done, executive searches, and I really want to talk about this because this is working with school boards. We have done probably 5-6 searches right now this spring to superintendents, to Cleveland Heights, University Heights engaged us in doing our their new treasurer search. This is impactful to us having, I think, you know, really important presence to boards and to selecting the next round of leadership that will be in schools. And I'm really proud that, you know, our board, 5 of our board members are automatic to in the bylaws to Auburn Career Center, and being a part of selecting the new superintendent for Auburn was very instrumental and very engaging to the part of our ESC wants to be a partnership realm. We want to be a part of that with the schools and the Career Center. You know, workforce, I'm going to workforce continually. It's one of the state's highest priorities. In addition, absenteeism, you're going to see some additional networks that we're going to be offering. You're going to see us having a larger presence in with literacy and math. We expanded our math department, right, Frank? We've got Melissa on. You know, we've expanded gifted. We have added to be responsive to the needs of our schools, and that's really important in these achievements and celebrations. Our nursing department, I have to mention this. We had a notification last June from the health department and Lake County stating that they were no longer going to provide nurses to schools. We pivoted like ESC should and be responsive to our schools to help them to get nurses solidified in schools before August. And I have to thank Bob Scott, and Greg Morris, both of you tag teaming together, because we made that happen. We made it happen in a very short amount of time. Same thing like driver's ed grant. These things come our way and we make sure it happens quickly. And those are just examples. And if I every single initiative we have, and someone gets upset with me tonight, I apologize now. Because I probably will miss something, but these are things that just come to me as seeing faces in the room and knowing that we have also, you know, been called upon and we made it happen. So it's exciting. So these are our continued goals for FY26. We really take time, our administrative core team that was on the first screen, all of those folks come together several times a year and we talk importantly about what we're doing and what's working well. We talk about what's not working. We talk about, hey, let's find evidence to what we're achieving every day. And that's essential because most teams put their strategic plans on a shelf and don't discuss it. They don't embed it, embrace organization every day. Every day I bring it up or somebody, and now I have our team continually talking about it and how we're going to embrace that and how do we then put that into play. It's something, we don't put it on a shelf. We talk about these goals. Quality services and programming is of a successful ESC. And all that. We've come a long way, and that goes into communication and strong communication. And we'll talk about some of those things for this year. We need to expand services. I want to talk about a huge celebration from last evening and a shout out to Kelsey and all her organization for expanding SAIL. But Open House in Crestwood, we're opening new classrooms for our SAIL program. And we had 25 to 30 people show up from top leaders in school districts, all in Portage County, to families with students that wanted to tour our classrooms. Very impactful. And where we worried, and I know that Kelsey worried, that we're going to have one or two students, that didn't happen, or staff members or parents. We had a huge showing of interest of opening new classrooms in a partnership with one of our districts in Portage County. That's extremely exciting. And what we can do to help support children, especially intensive special needs children, is something that not one of you will leave this room today to remember that the impact we have. Because that's who we are as a success, and that's how the responsiveness of we are to families, schools, students, and community. This is about community as well, and what we're going to do for our business advisories and development, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I really want you to know that expanding services in these programs that I've already mentioned is essential. But last night was a celebration, and we're going to move it, and we're going to make it happen. Give people the confidence to do that. Things drive me crazy. You want to go ahead manually? So next, we're still in goal 1, which is quality services and programming. These are continuation because we really need to talk about, and I'm going to talk a little bit about cross communication because we all need to do a better job of communication. We can never be the best at communication. But the difference between us comparable to schools is that we have to communicate to a lot of people. And we have a lot of school districts and we have a lot of ongoing, individuals that touch us more so than ever. And we have to communicate effectively. Sending a shout out, text and email about positiveness, what has gone well, what can we do to make sure we support each other. Also make sure communicating, we have a lot of staff deployed to schools. Make sure you're communicating with them, make sure you're in touch with them. Ongoing, sending updates, what's going on. They want to hear from us. And they want to know that, the work that we've been contracted to do is there and getting done. And those celebrations are essential. The communication cross departments in this internal organization is also essential. So we need to establish, and we're going to move it, always reevaluating structures internally so we can communicate more effectively, internally and externally. I know Deb's probably going to shoot me today because she's like, oh my gosh, if she talks about this one more time to me, I'm going to lose it. And today I was on I get on my stance like we all do, but one piece is communication. It's also structures internally that we need to make sure are in play. We talk all about onboarding new staff. We are constantly evaluating how do we do a better job for retaining? How do we look at recruiting? We had such huge success this year at our applicants and applying for our positions. It blew us out of the water. I mean, in terms of our district folks that want to be a part of us, that, the applicants that we have. I think in terms of one specific position, I think Dr. Moran and I could attest, they just kept coming and more interest and call. Which is really exciting that people want to be a part of us. You know, I can't say that a lot, years ago when I came into where we're at today. So it's very, so those are operational systems, and I want us to know those are internal structures and where we're at and how do we continue to evaluate those. And I'm going to charge everybody to evaluate every day what we do and how can we do it better? What are things working? And provide each other feedback along the way to that. Like, what are we doing well? What are some areas of improvement? Because if we don't self-reflect and we don't self-evaluate internally, we're not going to grow. And that's the bottom line. But really looking at norms too, this is important for communication practices. What are those norms? How do you effectively communicate? And how to, and I know even on the toughest day, how do we stay positive with each other in terms of those communications? So we are always looking to, in terms of staffing and restructuring. What do we need to do to be responsive and restructure people's roles? We always find out, like, okay, where do people fit better in certain areas than others? So we're constantly reflecting upon that as well. So goal 3 is fiscal sustainability. And I really want to talk a little bit about this, and the folks that are a part of this goal are really about that business development, the capital growth. It's about assessing budget continually. We have a very complex organization. I think some coming from school districts can attest that it takes a lot. Like Bob Scott was talking to me today, getting my hands around the ESC world, coming as a school superintendent into this organization, and how do I manage that? And how do I learn? Fiscally, we operate very differently. We bill for services and people and programs. We also have a lot of grant monies that come through, and then we also have a support system through our general fund. So it's getting an understanding, especially of those structures. And I have to thank the fiscal team because they do this amazingly every day in managing our budgets and the support of building those budgets and understanding. All of those leaders manage their own budgets. They build them every year, and that's really important to the foundation of the success financially to this organization. And I have to say, we did not have that when I came. Both ESCs that I was charged of being superintendent. Thank you, our board president, for trusting in me to be hired to lead this organization and become the Western Reserve ESC. But initially, it was a struggle, and many of you were there with me. Deb, you were there side by side, trying to make that happen. Greg, we brought him in. Let's come together and figure this out. And I'm proud to say today of where we're at and what we have done to manage our fiscal strength as well as we have. And we always are looking at what are new services. And this all goes back to the goals timed together. They're cohesive, they're meaningful, they're all part of this organization. Communication, expansion of services, fiscal stability, providing communities and partners with effective cost savings. We also have to demonstrate to our schools is that we are come to us to help support, but we have to gauge how much we are charging districts for those billable services and programs, etc. So we drill down that all the time and also we do 3-year, kind of analysis and averaging. Like, what does that look like? Are costs increasing too significantly annually? And that's really important to us, is that we make sure our thumbs are on that and we're continually meeting our budgets. Because that is goal 3 through and through. This thing's driving me crazy. I thought we had one more slide. So this is also something we've been trying to do is, I think for this is to provide our districts a better communication tool. This year doing an example of an annual report to the schools, just showing we had so much success in FY 23-24 with significant amount of ESSER COVID relief dollars. In that, we really wanted to demonstrate to schools, like, here are our in-kind grants that we were able to leverage. We were ESCs to receive one of the highest funding to deploy a lot of extended learning supports from to curriculum instruction or what have you. In that being said, it really is important for us to give back to the schools and a report to say, we saved you this amount of dollars by the number of grants and opportunities we provide you. That's essential in terms of communication and the relationships. And if this is not probably this priority two, one of the most important is build and enhance professional relationships with schools. They're our bread and butter. That's who our foundation is, students, schools, our school leaders. And in addition, and this is really exciting too, is we are just going in a partnership with the Cleveland Diocese. So exciting. Our staff is going to be working, get ready, Tina and Brittany. We are going to put on one of the largest conferences and support the diocese with a principal conference in November. They reached out to us. They were so gracious about saying what some of our staff have worked with their schools and the positive comments that were portrayed about everything we've done. You know, in terms of supporting a lot of the work curriculum instruction that has gone into our non-pubs. So I think now this great opportunity is coming our way and we're so excited about it. Like here's new partnerships. You know, we support public, private, all students. And our ESC comes together to make sure that the students in Lake Geauga, Northeast Ohio, even across the state that we've done a lot of consulting on, are there as highest priority and we're responsive. And I think that's the main frame piece I want as a takeaway. I'm going to turn to the audience just because I think it's really important. Everything I've stated, we're almost to the end here. And I really want some feedback and comments from everyone. And input, post in chat too, please, because I'd love to see comments in chat. But after everything I've stated, where we're headed and what we're doing, what are some words that come to mind to everybody? I mean, thinking and reflecting upon this past year to the future. It could be either or, but what do you, when you think of the ESC, what do you think of?
Endless possibilities.
Endless possibilities, love it, Bob.
I think it's inspiring with a lot of professional growth.
Professional growth, inspiration, responsiveness, bondedness.
Activity, local districts and community organizations.
Encouraging.
Encourage.
Highly adaptive.
Someone in chat says embracing new technology.
We are doing that. I think we're moving and trying to get a lot of training and support, especially for talk and ourselves utilizing that. So that's a great comment.
I think we're also being very accountable to our districts. I think that's something we're spending a lot of time talking about, being accountable.
Accountable. And as I mentioned, you know, doing a lot of work about accountability for ourselves, you know, and being responsive to the schools, but it goes hand in hand. So proud of the nursing team. Great job, Greg and Bob, for their continued support. Embracing new tech. We have innovative and building partnerships is what we think about when we see the ESC. Relationship. Anything else you people in the room? I want to hear it.
Forward thinking,
Forward thinking.
turning on a dime.
Turning on a dime. Pivot.
Growth and expansion.
Growth and expansion. But those are all the things as we go forward for this year, those do embrace a strong ESC. Someone that, you know, organization as a whole is going to be successful because it's about the people too. And it's all of you that are on today. And I appreciate all of the support, what you do every day. And just thank you significantly for reaching and touching students as much as possible. Everything. I think we need to always remember, and I always say this at opening day, and I always want to end with it, is that never underestimate the influence you have on children. I don't care what role in this organization you serve, but now your hands touch children in some way. And that's our business. So never underestimate the influence you have every day. Okay? So thank you, everyone. And please, school's out in a few weeks. Have a wonderful summer. Thank you again. We've made it through another year and excited for some R&R this summer. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Great evening. I'm looking forward to an awesome year. And I appreciate all the support and leaders. Have a great evening. Thank you. Can we get
Yeah.